Hi there, I'm John Ivison. Welcome to Speakeasy. This is Marie-Danielle Smith, and we're talking about our Global Affairs Minister who went to Washington and maybe ruffled some feathers.
She was there to accept a Diplomat of the Year award and said some kind of borderline undiplomatic language.
Like what?
Like she said that the U.S. is, plain and simple, pure protectionist in its approach. She threatened that liberal democracy in the world could crumble. She said we're not immune to great civilizations, in the past have risen and fallen, and we're in a situation now, the West, where we're not the most influential in the world anymore. And she basically laid it out to Trump, to the U.S., saying, you guys have a choice. She didn't mention Trump, but she said, she used second person language. She said, you have a choice. And it really felt like she was talking to Trump when she said that. She said, truth matters, facts matter. It also very much a reference to Trump's behavior, right? But yeah, she basically lined this up as a defense of democracy in the world and saying that the U.S. could choose to go the authoritarian route, which, lately it seems like it has been a little bit, or it could choose to line up behind this rules-based international order that was set up after the Second World War, and that is the reason that the international system works the way it does today.
So Trudeau said last week, we're polite, we're not going to be pushed around. Mm-hmm. Rather than back away from that, it sounds like we have doubled down and we've even gone further.
She has gone.
Is this as far as we've gone?
This is as far as we've gone in terms of language. She gave this message in Washington, which means something. We're going to see if Trump takes notice of that, of course. But I think what's interesting about this is that since the G7 and Trump's kind of dismissal of the G7, we've seen all of those countries line up behind Canada in the face of further tariffs and very undiplomatic language from the U.S. administration towards Justin Trudeau. And they're lining up to defend Canada and say similar stuff. The German foreign minister just came out with a speech that also kind of outlined these threats to Western democracies. And I think it just seems like the West outside of the U.S. has decided that now is a pivotal moment.
In history.
History.
It's historic, really.
It is historic.
I'm not sure that he will respond to any of this. His whole philosophy seems to be we keep our allies and our adversaries permanently off balance to try and get what it is I want. He probably doesn't even know what he wants. But, is there any prospect that this achieves anything concrete? Does it restart NAFTA?
I don't know if it restarts NAFTA. I don't know how much it affects the ongoing negotiations. I think that if
she was meeting Robert Lighthizer.
She is meeting, yeah, but the talks have stalled for a few weeks now. So the question is, will Trump sort of see this as a ganging up of his allies? Will he revert sort of to defending people like Vladimir Putin and the North Korean leader as he has in the last few weeks? Or will he kind of accept that, okay, all of my friends dislike what I'm doing? Maybe even just a subtle shift in policy could land him out of this mess.
It must, the sight of all of these nations lining up against the US must have some impact in the US with senators, all congressmen, businesses, state governors perhaps. Are we seeing any of that?
And the tariffs that they imposed are going to hurt American businesses and American consumers. So I think, up until last night, or when Freeland gave her speech in Washington, I think that the hope was that the U.S. will see enough economic harm from the tariffs that it started to impose that it will go off and reverse that policy. But the language helps. I think the language helps to solidify that.
And just lastly, something I was writing about this week was the fact that Canadians are very upset, and they seem to be intent on taking out that upset when they pull out their credit cards. And then there may be an unofficial boycott of American products. Do you think that is something that might happen?
Sure. I think people are pretty angry, and I think that people in Europe are really angry too. So, this could go beyond Canada. If Canadian consumers and European consumers sort of en masse decide to turn away from the U.S., they're going to feel it.
Sure. Okay, well, that's it for this week. This story is not going away, so maybe we'll be talking about it next week again.
See you next week.